Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fortinet session. I'm your host, Chris Dorn, with my co-host, Israel Quintero, and Mohammed Akif from the networking practice at XenTegra. And I have some special guests today from our Modern Apps division of XenTegra. I have Fred Reynolds and Kristen McDonald joining us today. We're going to chat a little bit about how Fortinet and ServiceNow kind of work together. So this should be pretty interesting. It's one of our first ones to kind of have a collaboration together where we're discussing some items and technologies that kind of play into each other to kind of help automate and revolutionize, if you would, even and modernize your applications that you guys are hosting. And wanted to kind of lead into this conversation with an overview of ServiceNow and what it is, because some of our listeners might not be super familiar with it, and some of you, I'm sure, are. And then we'll talk about how XenTegra works with it. And then we'll kind of play into some of the components that play into each other with both of the product vendors here. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining today.
Awesome. Howdy. Hey, Chris.
Great. So Fred and Kristen, for our listeners that might not be familiar with this, let's get a kind of a high-level overview of what is ServiceNow to somebody who's never heard of it before. You know, what can it do? Maybe how XenTegra is leveraging it some, and then just we can play into chatting about our integration with Fortinet after that.
Perfect. Thanks. I guess I'll start, Chris, and you can keep me honest and come and add color to it. So, you know, Chris, when I think of ServiceNow, what it is, in the basics term, when I try to explain to people, it's a huge platform. First of all, it has many capabilities. It creates a unified platform of all the different business units that you have in a company. So it really can tie them all together. And it does that through workflows. So when I try to describe ServiceNow, I just consider it a huge workflow engine. It's very sophisticated, has lots of data, a lot of data points. But the purpose of saying it's a workflow engine is so it can tie all this together to create seamless workflows, to tie business units together, to create automation, to create visibility and accountability and all these things. And so what I'm so excited about this conversation today is because how underutilized I see people who have ServiceNow or people who have many applications out there and devices and products like Fortinet, how they do not integrate those and they live in silos. So probably there's lots of nice GUI interfaces, lots of nice data within these siloed environments going to maybe multiple teams. ServiceNow is a product that can help bring all that together. So the workflows, in my opinion, ties your security operations in a Fortinet scenario to the business operations, to the IT operations, and brings us all together in a single place. So at a whole, I'd say it's a huge platform that allows a lot of workflows. Kristen, you want to add to it?
Sure, absolutely. So I think you got the high level perfectly, Fred. It is at its core workflow engine. For Fortinet specifically, however, we are going to be looking at three specific applications. First off, we're looking at IT service management, which is ServiceNow's flagship product. And essentially, it's a help desk solution. So when you think help desk, that is ITSM. In addition, Fortinet also utilizes the IT operations management solution, which incorporates device discovery, service mapping, event management, which goes to monitoring tool sets and correlation of events and alarms and things of that nature. And finally, the third application that we'll be talking about is the SecOps or security operations product, where you can have security incidents generated. You can track changes and compliance and threats within ServiceNow. And Fortinet integrates with all three of those applications. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I'm looking up some of the PDFs on how Fortinet's presenting themselves as integrating into ServiceNow. And it seems like the joint components here that we're looking at are the three components that you're speaking to, Kristen. And then from the Fortinet side, we're looking at the next gen firewall, so the FortiGates, the FortiManager, the analyzer component, and then the big boy, the FortiSIEM. So Israel, with those kind of components kind of laid out, what do you see here inside of the documentation that's kind of showing us like the path that kind of things kind of steer together and end up connecting to make a synergy for us?
Yeah, I mean, the ServiceNow is a great product to a lot of the knock and SOC out there, right? To be able to be more proactive, when something is going down or something goes wrong, time is money. And that is literally with companies that they cannot lose any seconds. Can't say minutes, it's seconds. And be able to have that ServiceNow integration, especially with the Fortinet products, it makes a life changer. And looking into the SOC and the NOCs, having that automation, things like that, is a great solution.
Yeah, most definitely it is. So with the components that we're talking about kind of in play here, it's not only availability of some of the services, but like Kristen stated, we're triggering alerts and creating, and to Fred, those workflows are kicked off, and the reporting and the capture of those logs inside of the Fortinet fabric is going to play into not only the visualization and understanding of what's happening, but then the actions that should be taken in almost an automated fashion there, so that we're off and running, so that we're not at those minutes anymore. We're at those, trying to limit the amount of seconds that things are needing to be addressed.
And Chris, I know we'll dive into a little bit technically like how some of this connects, but I want to make an important point for your listeners. Number one, a lot of times your security and your IT teams are separated. I mean, in the big enterprise that I came from, the security had an office, and a lot of the companies I talk to today, the security has an office. They have people that work on those for vulnerabilities and just security and looking for the network for issues. And that's really separate from the ones that are managing the network, managing all the rest of the assets on the company's network. So because they're separate like that, that's the power here. I'm just letting you know that ServiceNow brings those together. So with that integration, you bring all that information that you have that's within Fortinet and other assets on the environment into a single place, so that when an event happens, everyone's notified. And it's very important for the discovery piece of this. Chris can talk to a little bit more. ServiceNow has a CMDB where a lot of the configuration items are captured, which is where you can trigger, do service map, and you can keep building upon this. And that's really important because an event can happen or a vulnerability can happen, and it may have a lot more effects on just one product. A network can cause application solutions to go down, and you want all that to be rolled up into a single incident so that you don't spend time running around and the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. So the significance here, and the point I want to make, is that ServiceNow allows for you to bring those together, but more importantly, it helps bring those business units together that are typically siloed. So now you have it working together. So I just want to make sure you make the point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Fred, I really like how you mentioned it, or I don't know if you did it intentionally or not, but I like that word you said, photo thinking. That was pretty nice.
Awesome. I think it was a mistake then, but I like it. We can bring that in there.
Yeah.
Sounds like a new T-shirt,
right?
Yeah, they might.
T-shirt. I like it.
Trademark that.
Fortinet thinking it's ServiceNow and Fortinet together. I like it. Thank you. Yeah, then I meant to do it, Israel. Thank you. I did.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you're talking about Fortinet, it's always a photo something. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just natural putting a photo thinking in there. So I like it.
Definitely it is. So I'm kind of looking through some of this stuff, that like the CMDB you're chatting about there, Fred. We got the capability of the FortiGate firewall discovery from the ServiceNow piece. So that's populating your databases with your inventory. Seems like there's already a decent amount of predefined templates and even areas inside the configuration for service management of ServiceNow where we're just applying the templates that we have on the FortiGate side so that those actions can be taken appropriately depending on what's triggered and what we need to move forward with. So I'm looking at this example here. It's like ServiceNow is being applied to a policy template for a Mac quarantine. So there's a security event, we're automating sandboxing and quarantining that Mac client until some kind of still it's addressed by the users. And that might be a manual step that needs to be taken to address what's happening, and might be automation might be able to take that off of our plate as well. So we can get that user back to working the way that they should, and we're avoiding any kind of downtime for them. And probably, I would think at the end of the day, we're reducing quite a few calls to the service desk to get some of this stuff taken care of as well. So it's almost like having an AI engine as your first responder to any of these events.
Well, it goes back to Israel saying that when you talk about security, it comes down to seconds and not necessarily minutes. So when a vulnerability hits the network and you already know of a response that should happen, that's what you can do within ServiceNow is programmatically create these so that when the events happens, things are triggered automatically, tasks are created, things are completed. Even if you have to go through a step of authorization for someone to authorize that to take place, it all can be caught within the system. And importantly, it can be documented so you have a trail of all the activities that happen. So if it was automated end to end, it captures everything for you so you can go back and audit that after the fact.
Absolutely. And because you've got that integration with the ITSM solution, which incorporates change management and documented approvals there, you're complying with your help desk policies and your IT policies and with ITIL best practices, but you still have the automation on the back end. So the minute you get that approval, it can go ahead and automatically perform the change. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Having those playbooks that makes life a little bit easier, especially if you have a small team, right? Makes things a lot easier, be able to focus on other things and not break their heads. Because I think now with this type of technology, I mean, we need something to try to keep up, and having these straight playbooks to be able to help us with that and alert us, it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest things too, Israel, when you talk about alerting us. ServiceNow has a great engine for that, for notifications, for following that process. And so that way you can build an environment so that when you get an event or an alert from ServiceNow, you know it's something real because you actually programmed it to make sure that you're only having the real issues come to you.
Mhm.
And that's important when you have a lot of different applications and products on your network that you're actually monitoring and supporting. You want to make sure that you're reacting to the things that are real. So I think that's another thing that's important about the way the notifications can work within the ServiceNow platform.
And just to extend that thought a bit, because ServiceNow does have service mapping and environment mapping capabilities, when you get an event from a device anywhere in the platform, you can actually see exactly what the impacts of that outage be. So you can see what is downstream, what is upstream from that device. You can see which services are being impacted, which customers are being impacted. It's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. We didn't even talk about impacts, and that's some of the decisions that have to be made. The impact of acting upon some of those things. Good point, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very neat. The more I scroll through some of these examples that we're looking at here, and for folks listening, we just had a couple of the different links from quick Googles of like Fortinet, ServiceNow, bringing up a slew of different options here. But overall, it seems like it's completely customizable from, you know, the headers that you want posted into the events to the severity of the event that's triggered. You can identify those individually and link back up to your SecOps integration. Quite a few pieces out here that are readily available for those integrations to take place. So it seems like a lot of this comes back to like the platform itself. And do you have these two components already in place, these two technologies, and are they siloed? You know, is your Fortinet fabric kind of standing by itself? Are you looking at ServiceNow, or have you done anything with it in the past? And then how do we tie those pieces together? And what's kind of unique about XenTegra is that we have both of these. We're one of those companies that drinks our own champagne. We just recently, and I'll let you guys chat about it a little bit more, but we recently kind of went live with the availability of our own service offering of ServiceNow.
Right.
And if you guys aren't aware of it, and I think I've chatted about it on quite a few of the previous podcasts, but on our edge of our MSP, we're a FortiGate shop. So we have the capabilities to tie into quite a few of these components here. So the analyzer, the FortiManager, those pieces. So if you wanted a turnkey solution, realistically, XenTegra is your go-to for this kind of operation, so that fabric is in place from both of these technology vendors, and quite the impact that they've made inside of the world of technology. We can bring that together for you at ramp up speed, basically at no time here.
Yeah, Chris, two things there, because talk about drinking our own champagne. So we are actively using ServiceNow at XenTegra. So went live with that, moved from another ticketing system we were utilizing, and we're actively, Kristen and her team are going to have a good roadmap of a lot of integration, Fortinet being one of those and many others. So we're going to completely integrate everything that we have, used, sell, right, into XenTegra. And then the other piece of that, and I can let Kristen expand on it more, but we do create a managed service offering with ServiceNow, and that could be a couple of things. That could be a customer that has, and then large enough to have their own ServiceNow instance. ServiceNow does have a minimum, so if they meet minimums and we can create their own instance, which a lot of people choose to do, then we can actually manage that for them, do all the upgrades, do configuration, and be an extension of their IT department to help them with those if they don't have ServiceNow development or admin staff. Another thing we're doing for smaller customers or ones that just want full managed services is we have our own domain separated instance of XenTegra ServiceNow that we can carve off their own domain, completely secure, and they could use ITSM and ITAM and ITOM and all the different capabilities ServiceNow offers, and that we manage that fully for them. They benefit from all the things that we have done within XenTegra and our knowledge that we have for integrations and everything. So we can come out of the box and give them an environment that already has some of the built-in integrations they would be looking for. Mm-hmm. Kristen, anything to add?
I think you covered it very well, Fred.
Okay,
so just to share the timeline around that, we are looking at the first release of that new product by the end of the month. So in April, we will be able to bring new customers on. And as Fred mentioned, as we build out these integrations with the tool sets we're already using, they will be available to new customers on that platform. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So you mentioned April. Do you guys have a little bit better timeline for our listeners if they are wanting to know about this a little bit more?
Yeah, we can absolutely have a meeting with any client that's interested and wants to hear about it. We can show how it works and do a brief demo for them. It's just April 1st timeline will be when we can bring on a new customer. So we can definitely share information and have discussions with customers prior to that.
Sure. And Israel, in true fashion, right, we'll have out-of-the-box capabilities, some things that we have done as best practices that we know, part of having it in an MSP environment, so you learn from the best practices, that you follow best practices, and it's more than likely is users and maybe new users to ServiceNow that want the product, understand the integration capabilities, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. We'll need to get with that customer, and part of what XenTegra's value is to understand what the customer's issues are, what problems are they trying to solve, and just turning up ServiceNow is not going to solve your problems. You need to make sure you tie in and tackle those business problems you have. I'm a firm believer in these integrations because to me, my former role was to roll out ServiceNow, and we did so many integrations to get the benefit of ServiceNow. So integrating with everything you have, actually creates more fruitful workflows.
And that's one of the best benefits about XenTegra, and like you mentioned, it is not everybody's going to be the same. One of the things that I really like about XenTegra, from me coming from Fortinet and coming to XenTegra, is that you guys listens to your customers. And that's one of the beauty things, right? Because not everybody's going to fit the same type of bill, and going and able to talk to them, customize things for them is one of the best things. And especially with ServiceNow, it gives you that flexibility, and having it with Fortinet. I mean, both vendors right there alone give you that customizations that a lot of people really need.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. Because we have to fit the tool to the company, not vice versa. It's
Exactly.
the only way it works. Yep.
Yeah, if you guys go to the opposite way, as most people who've been out there, there's going to cause a lot of problems. The company is going to lose a lot of money, and that's a big challenge out there. So it's better to fit the solution with their actual environment. It's going to be there. So
yeah, a lot easier path to success anyway when you approach it from that angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the beauty things, talking about flexibility, is an easy integration, especially around FortiAnalyzer, right? Analyzer has a external connector where you can easily connect them and have that communication already established and easy to go. So, I mean, how easy and beautiful it is to have different type of companies and be able to talk the same language.
It reminds me of that old BizTalk server back in the day. That thing was a monster to take care of, wasn't it? Now we got these things kind of canned up. We've been through a couple decades now of redefining and tweaking and polishing these services before they're released GA, and now it's to the point where we're able to build it ourselves and offer it. So it's come a long way, has it not? Definitely has.
So Israel, you hit on something as far as like, and Fortinet has it as well. So I just want to say, ServiceNow has a store that has a lot of built-in integrations already created. They have integration hub that has them done with big companies. I mean, part of the power of this, and it's why it's so great to see that every single day new products hit the store, because that's what you really want, is to create that engine that integrates, because Fortinet's one piece of the puzzle, and they have lots of other technology, a place to integrate those quickly and pull that information in and have a full view of the landscape of what you have in your environment. So that's what you really want to do, is create that, an asset management or, an inventory of what you have out there, so that when something happens from a security perspective, that you can really look across that. It could be a combination of software versions on different products that equal a bad scenario. And so this is a platform that I could go and look at that. You can run analytics on it and come back and tell you, hey, these are the products or these are the issues that you could have, and be preventative versus reactive.
Yeah, I like that. You definitely nailed it on the head there. Hit the nail on the head, as they say.
And I was gonna bring up that store, but you beat me into it. So yeah, that's pretty good right there.
I was forward thinking about it.
Yeah.
There you go again.
I tell you that I think ServiceNow is making you do that, right? Makes you get that forward thinking methodology, I guess you want to call it.
Definitely going to get some shirts, man. I like that, Chris. Handy with
there you go.
If you're thinking of ServiceNow, think about forward thinking, or have a mentality of forward thinking.
It's what you get when you integrate the two. You get forward thinking.
Oh,
you get the analytics with it. That's the combination there.
I like it.
Yeah, definitely. We got to make a shirt out of that. We might have to get with Fortinet and like, hey guys, don't try to take this word. This is ours already. Or maybe Kenzie is hearing right now, is like, oh, let me call right now. Nope, it's our name now.
Yeah, I got it TM'd. Got trademarked on us.
But
so we'll be down.
I was looking at some of the documents that ServiceNow does have, and most of you guys know Fortinet has a great documentation and the website, and ServiceNow actually has something similar like that. It gives you pretty much step by step of how to do things. It gives you great details of the product, not only with Fortinet but other vendors. So I mean, it's very, very nice to see, and most companies don't have that.
Absolutely. And it is updated regularly. So every time they come out with a new release, you can actually filter on that release to see articles specific to that version. They also have what they call a community site, which is basically a Stack Exchange for ServiceNow. That's my favorite spot.
Nice.
Nice.
That.
And also, for the viewers who don't know, I mean, ServiceNow is a low-code, no-code platform. So it's intended for more configuration-based programming than necessarily having to actually program or script. So Kristen actually has been working with ServiceNow since its first release, Aspen, I believe, not beta, but the Aspen release. So she's been doing this for a long time. But it also allows you to do custom development applications for things that are not yet there. And people also sell those on the store to take things further. So it actually just gives you free reign to make it work for your business needs. It's a powerful thing from it.
Yeah, that sure is. So it sounds like we got some of the release dates coming down the pipeline here. We're attending the Accelerate event at the beginning of April, so it's right around the corner. We got quite a number of customers that'll be joining us for that, and I'm sure that I can't wait to talk about this some more and investigate it. And I'm sure even at the Expo Center and some of the tableside chats and stuff like this will be a pretty good topic to kind of bring up, because it's probably not necessarily limitless, but like you're saying, a lot of this stuff is no code. So it seems like they've done a really good job at identifying the parameters so that there's not a lot of lead time on having to develop anything if you're going to do it yourself. But it's pretty flexible enough where even at a quick glance there, it's like I get the gist of it with the power and the capabilities of it. And it's not very frightening at all. You know, I did have a background in programming, but at the same time, it's I try to steer away from it if I can. So
Yeah,
I think a lot of
it.
I think a lot of folks do anymore.
When people ask me what's your weakness when it comes to technology, I'm like, programming. I'm a network guy, security guy, scripts. I can do
loops,
it. But yeah.
The funny thing is with ServiceNow, there's a flow designer. I think I got that right, Kristen, right? A flow designer, which is really just a drag and drop and just build your flows. So I will say this, because we're not as familiar with Fortinet and the products and all the capabilities, but what I guarantee you from a product like that, there's a ton of data that it knows about itself and the network and data that it's pulling. And so with everything these days, it's all data driven. We got terabytes of data flying at us left and right, and it's hard for us to process that. With ServiceNow, you can build custom tables. It has things out of the box. So you can take every bit of that data, if you chose to, that's in those products and bring it into ServiceNow. Then it really opens up what do you want to do with that data? What do you want to tie it to? And that's where flow designers come in. You can say, if this comes in or this data comes in and it's different from this. I mean, that's where it becomes endless, Chris, is that the amount of data that you want to drive into a system like this, the number of I wouldn't say customizations, the number of workflows and just designers that you do to kind of, what do you want to do with that? That's why it takes someone who knows the products or knows more, not necessarily the products, but knows from the business, what do they want to get out of that? What's the cause and effect of that? And then you can automate it. That's where it's endless.
Oh yeah, it definitely seems that way, because to your point, you know, you got gobs and gobs, terabytes of log files alone. And it's like, I want some kind of action here. I want it brought to the surface so I can act upon it appropriately. And it seems like they've done a good job, the joint effort between the two organizations, of coming up with something that'll make that readily available to their users and their customers.
Well, and we haven't talked about scale. This is another solution that, you know, that's the limit as well. Where Kristen and I came from, we dealt with millions and millions of alarms on a weekly basis that, you know, we just really had to work through. And that's the benefit of the mapping and all the capabilities there, to be able to bring a lot of those incidents and, you know, what's an event, what's just a task that needs to come out of that. It breaks all that down, so it takes away a lot of humans having to go through all that data coming at you. And the type of reporting capabilities that can come out of ServiceNow in the same way. It may just be C-level reports that want to understand the health of the network or other things around firewall rules. You can create all that and just have reports and dashboards at their fingertips through it. So we can go on and on. I'm just throwing out some more.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. So I mean, you're just pointing out there that it's kind of limitless, but it's not intimidating from somebody such as myself. That's not. Other than spelling ServiceNow, you know, I don't necessarily know how to set it up, but just looking how we would tie those two together, I'm not intimidated by any means from it.
And I think that's why we're saying it's a matter of use cases. You know, we meet with a customer because one shoe doesn't fit all. You meet with the customer, and you understand where their pain points are, where do they need to see benefit from this, and therefore you can take something out of the box. You can do a basic integration, but it's what happens next is when they say, now I really see that was taking me 30 minutes to do 17 times a day, and now it just took me a second and I don't even have to do anything. I mean, that's when they start seeing real value, and you just keep building upon it.
Oh yeah, that's ROI right off the bat there. Even if it's just for your quality of life ROI, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
It's an important thing you have to achieve. If you own a business and you run a business, you need to make sure you have it.
Yeah, you definitely do. So I'm looking forward to, and I'm even thinking, like, you know, 6 months from now, when we're going to be to the point where we have customers that we might even be able to bring back in and discuss with them and see what their experiences are with this kind of stuff. I don't think it would be anything but a nice experience that the customers are going to have here in the future with this. So this isn't like net new, brand new, but it's definitely new to me. It's a little bit newer to XenTegra. It's definitely not new to Fred and Kristen here by any means, but as far as like bridging that gap between that infrastructure, the security fabric that Fortinet's providing, and then the ServiceNow offering and how we go through our day-to-day workloads, it seems like this is like a no-brainer almost. It's like,
well, any of our customers or non-customers that have ServiceNow and Fortinet, we'd love to have an opportunity to just have that conversation. I mean, it does not take long to do these types of integrations. You know, they may seem complicated. They're honestly not, especially when there's capability straight out of the store to plug and play and see instant benefit from it. It's amazing how quickly it can happen.
So you don't have to have a degree just to configure this.
You have to have a PhD in order to, no. You don't, but like anything, the more you do something, the better and more efficient you are, and the more experience, right? That's the good thing about. It's a great thing about working here now versus where I was. I only saw like one thing, so now I get to talk to many, many customers, and I get to learn from people. So all of us learn every day from other people. So now we can say, took the idea from there, and we can use it here, and so more use
better.
Make it better. Yeah.
Never stop learning in this industry. One of the best parts, and this is one of the exciting things I've been waiting for a while here, to get to chat about this with you guys. So this is super awesome, and I can't wait to be again at Accelerate and chatting about this. I can't wait to get back the week after, the April 10th. See what comes from like our podcast here, and what comes from the conversations we're going to have down in Florida. Accelerate. It's going to be a pretty cool year having these technologies stood up that we can offer to pretty much everybody. Whether you're hosting it yourself, whether we're hosting it with you, co-hosting it, co-managing it, it's a lot of opportunities there for us to work together and bring the expertise of, as you can see from the Fortinet side and the ServiceNow side. We're like a Swiss Army knife of the VAR 2.0, as Andy Whiteside likes to say, VAR 2.0, and this is probably a pretty good example of that. Being able to be flexible and meet the needs of our customers and our listeners here on the phone or on the podcast. Not the phone. I'm showing my age a little bit.
Yeah, Very cool. And for any listener out there, if you don't have Fortinet and you're still interested on ServiceNow, please reach out to us, guys. I'm pretty sure I know that Fred and Kristen are very happy to talk to you guys. But if you want something to be more simple, to work together with different vendors, I mean, definitely Fortinet and ServiceNow have a great partnership, and we are here to help you with that with you guys. Ask any type of questions. If we don't know it, we definitely know we can go to different people to help out and get those answers for you guys. But definitely if anybody doesn't know about ServiceNow and we did not answer any of your questions or anything that you had in top of mind, please reach out to us and we can get that answered.
Yeah, please do. And please remember, I mean, ServiceNow is a huge platform, but in the basis of what we talk on ITSM and ITOM, they are leading in the industry and have been for many, many, many years. So it is a dominant solution in that. And again, from an affordability standpoint, if XenTegra also has an MSP model to help with that. So we want to be able to help customers be able to utilize ServiceNow because we believe in it that much.
Well, I don't want to throw you guys under the bus, but do you guys know how long ServiceNow's been around?
I do.
2010, I believe, was the initial launch. I'd have to double check.
The initial launch and a couple years before that, yeah. So somewhere around there.
Hold on. So Mo came out of mute. What were you gonna say, Mo?
No.
I was just saying that it's been like around 10 years now. More than that, I believe so. Yeah.
Yes. I used it for 8. So, Chris, I got to be over 10. I'm going to look real quick when they were established. He's throwing out trick questions. I see. He was.
They were founded.
It was 2004 founded.
I'm a type of person. I want to know where they came from, where they're getting to. I mean, I think a lot of companies, where they come from, you will see how they are turning out to be. And I know they've been around for a little bit, so that's why I kind of wanted to know the timeline and really show how it's growing and it's not going anywhere. So our customers, our listeners don't have to fear like, oh man, if I invest on this, how long is it going to last?
Right.
So I tell you, that's a good point if that's what you're trying to make. So here's something to expand on that. And Kristen rode this way with me as well. So when ServiceNow came out, they constantly been moving from that ITSM or just operation management, just service management, all the way through customer management, HR. They have a lot of technology they do now and lots of different workflows. They invest so much in the company that they constantly evolve it. So a lot of the things where Chris and I worked together on former projects where we had to create custom code, custom applications to fill some of those gaps. After a couple of years, they had already caught up and passed those where we started rolling things back to out of the box. So I'll tell you, Israel, that's one thing I really like about ServiceNow. I haven't seen in a lot of companies is the amount of investments they make into their products. And I went to SCO this past year, and Bill McDermott is the CEO of the company. He's the fireball, so he's up north, and he creates so much excitement. And that's where he's just completely committed. He really invests in the people there at ServiceNow. He invests in the product, and they're not slowing down whatsoever. So yeah, it's really huge goals for ServiceNow. So yeah, there should be no concern in that area. That's for sure.
And that's what exactly we wanted to hear. I know a lot of our customers definitely want to be hearing that. And the reason is times are changing, and unfortunately, certain companies are not able to maintain their stat, or they're doing some restructuring. So it's always good to be in upfront with our customers. So, and we're here to help them and lead them any way they want.
Absolutely.
And just a quick stat for you, more than 80% of the Fortune 500 works with ServiceNow. So it's got a large backing. Yep.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
To go along with what you said, Israel, I think an important thing while we're here, so I believe in the product and believe in both of these products, but the important thing about what we do is we make sure the customers get the value out of these products. Too many times we see these products get put into the environment, but not really get utilized at the full capacity, even licensing. You can spend money on licenses and you get, A through Z, but you only use A through K because you run out of resources and time to do it. And that's what we want to do, is make sure you get the most value of that. We hadn't even talked about some of the other chat capabilities, virtual agent, and all the capabilities that ServiceNow has, but we typically see that too. They put ServiceNow in and they don't utilize some of the things that are part of it. And I'll put this out. Kristen just did a podcast with Andy last week on our ServiceNow podcast about knowledge. And that's a really good one because it's part of ServiceNow, the knowledge capability within it, knowledge articles, and it's just part of the platform.
Yeah, now we got that knowledge and insight into the security instances that happen inside of the fabric there. It's just I don't know what took so long to get like some of this stuff together. Maybe even it's just from the XenTegra side and us talking about this and bridging these gaps at this point. It's like we're tying everything together, making that solution is now crossing multiple vendors, and it looks like it, from what we see here and talking about, it's just easier and easier as every day passes.
It's the thing that excited me to come to XenTegra to start with. When I first saw y'all's blueprint presentation, the vendors that you guys use, the way you work with customers, and I just saw that gaping ServiceNow, just everything comes to ServiceNow, right? So that's the way my mind works. I see it as just ServiceNow is in the middle, and we can connect to all this stuff and make a workflow to make everybody's life easier. And it's the truth when it comes to a lot of the CIOs and a lot of the IT resources that have so many products and so many events, alarms, or you name it, vulnerabilities coming at them. This is just a platform that really brings those together. Maybe we can help them.
Clean it up, streamline it, make things easier, cleaner, and give that visibility that's obtainable, and not only obtainable, but that's ingestible, that you can understand it. It's that old thing, I'm alerted to death, and it's like I'm turning all the alerts off because I can't stand all the text messages. And now it's like, well, if we go through this and we select what we actually want to look at, what's important to us, then we create a workflow that's triggered from that so we can act upon it. That's a game changer. And then there's some of them kind of, we've been seeing it for quite a few years now where, they're integrating into different things to get things kicked off, but nobody has like the depth of being able to take that workflow all the way back to, like, say your HR representative needs to get, some of that information through that workflow. That's what the differentiator is that we're kind of looking at here.
Good point. Some of these security items could impact revenue or finances, and you can tie that all the way back through it as well. So it's amazing how far you can take it.
Yeah, most of these incidences anymore, it's not just, my computer's not working. It's usually like if any time, it's like if my computer's not working, probably nobody's computer in the company's working because we're locked out. We're done. So exactly. It's like you got to take action the second that stuff presents itself inside of your fabric. And this seems like the way that we go about it these days. It's beautiful.
So before we start almost breaking down here, Christian and Fred, for any listener or customer listening to us right now, what do you think your best recommendation will be to look into ServiceNow on? What are the main things is like, okay, yeah, I might need ServiceNow into their environment?
It really depends on the customer. And part of that goes back to the breadth of the applications that are existing on ServiceNow and what can be developed on ServiceNow. ITSM is their flagship. So if you need a help desk, it's the Gartner Magic Quadrant leader. It's, an obvious choice. But as Fred mentioned, you've got HR management on ServiceNow. You've got customer service management on ServiceNow. There are a host of industry solutions now. So you've got healthcare and telco and education-specific offerings that can be added to the platform. Honestly, really anyone, I think, could use ServiceNow for their organization. Yep.
It's honestly the truth. So if you actually went to ServiceNow's website and you look, Kristen said they are aligning more verticals, manufacturing and medical. So depending on where you live, you can look in there, and there's lots of use cases, lots of success stories, right? Kristen said, tons of companies are using this. The big ones are 80% of the big ones are using it, and it's for that very reason. It's because of the time and the money it's saving to have these things, the workflows created for them. So Israel, I would say in the simplest case, one of the ones that I saw when I first got here was a customer that actually was still doing everything on paper. So if you can believe that. Applications on paper, stacks and stacks of file cabinets. It was really impressive. Like they just had everything paper. They come in 20 different applications because it was a small city type organization, and they still were on paper, just needed to digitize things, right? So that's another thing this platform can do from the customer perspective that Kristen just said, the customer service management, is to take all those papers and put them in a digital format, organize that, create a catalog and a customer interface to a website or the phone, because you can do it on the phone as well, where they can do all this online. It actually we talk about digital transformation. ServiceNow is a great platform to do any digital transformation efforts. And again, a lot of that comes down to the use cases and what are you trying to get out of that. A lot of those digital transformations fail because people aren't willing to change processes, procedures, or really know what they're going after. And we can help with those conversations. So anybody, Israel, could use it.
Awesome.
Large, small, any vertical, doesn't matter.
Yep, and back to us being able to help initiate that and kick it off for the customers. It might be something as simple as extending your fabric, back to like our FortiGates that we offer. That the idea behind that is that we become an extension of your network for all the right reasons. And now we're able to not only include the many solutions that we offer through our managed services offerings. Now we can include ServiceNow, and it's very exciting. It's going to be a really cool year, especially for you, Fred and Kristen. It's going to be something else for you.
We're very excited. Israel, I would tell you this: what customers can benefit from a firewall? Everyone.
Everybody.
Right? You got to have it. It's just saying who could benefit from more efficient processes? Everyone. So there you go.
Nice.
Now we have a great combination for both in this.
We do.
Yeah, and one of the things that probably some listeners are Fortinet already there. They're probably asking, why should I get ServiceNow if my FortiGate already has some automation? You're absolutely right. It does. But what about your other products?
Yeah.
Right? Now you can integrate both of them and have that automation.
And it's an important thing you said, because the truth is ServiceNow is not trying to replace Fortinet. Any automation that has, it utilizes that. So ServiceNow is not recreating that. It's actually creating and tying it together so that it can automatically create and initiate those automations that it can do, come back and document all of that and get it to the right people who need to understand and be aware of that.
Yeah. I like chili and I like hot dogs, but I love chili dogs. It's like put the two together, it makes it that much better. I do.
So I gotta ask, Fred. I know you mentioned that you did a podcast with Andy, our CEO. Which one did you have more fun?
Oh, that's so loaded.
Careful. Oh wow.
Andy has always impressed me with his ability to do the podcast like he does. He does a really good job and funny. But I have enjoyed this because I like you, Israel, and I like Chris and Moam. So I like everyone. So I'm having fun with all of these. But honestly, I will tell you this. This has been a really neat one for Chris and I, because I hope we do a lot more of these where we talk about ServiceNow's capabilities and integration, because now we learn a little bit more about Fortinet and some of the other products that XenTegra supports and sells. But I mean, this is the power, in my opinion, the biggest thing that ServiceNow has going for it. It's best in class in what it does anyway, but just these integrations and getting more out of it, it's really where I think more people need to be thinking about how do they keep integrating so that you tie things together. It's how you break those silos down.
And develop it too. I'll play off of that, Fred. You know, like the bar 2.0 message in the community that we built and how we went to market when XenTegra was founded in the beginning. It's like we build that community. We have our ServiceNow customers, and we have our Fortinet customers, or their networking in general customers. And it's like, oh, they want to see these enhancements. They want to see this and the next evolution of that product that they've probably invested a decent amount of time and financial resources into too.
Absolutely.
And that's something that differentiates us. It's like you can buy a lot of the stuff we sell and work with on the internet directly. You know, but you don't get that bar 2.0 experience where we're real, we're here for you. We want to make you successful, and that's
100%.
That's that differentiator.
It's this community that we've created. And I will tell you this, to go along with the question, Israel, I wasn't disappointed the fact that the analogy's right. So the chili dog thing. So Chris, Andy, that's what they do. So, you know, can't say that's good.
Yeah. So sometimes I just can't control my mouth either when I say them, but they come in my head all the time.
There's not going to be no editing on this one, so we're going to keep it real.
This is raw. This is raw. Like it.
That's how we like it. Well, we're kind of wrapping up here, guys. You know, it's almost at the top of the hour. You know, this was probably my favorite one thus far. So this was very cool. Looking forward to more of these in the future. And again, we'll keep the ball rolling on this. We'll come back around for another one just to play off of what we're chatting about today. You know, but I want to thank our listeners for season 2, episode 12. This one, we'll get it posted up pretty quickly. And again, feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll put the LinkedIn links into the description of this when we post it up on the internet, and looking forward to having many more of these and a great year together, guys.
Thanks for having us, and we'll invite you guys over to our ServiceNow podcast for a Fortinet Take 2.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, love to do it. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Thanks, Mohammed, and thank you, Israel, and especially to our guests, Fred and Kristen. Yeah, again, this was great. So we'll chat with you guys soon. And look forward to having the next one.
Great sport of thinking for you guys.
Sport of thinking.
Sport of thinking.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.